Do you guys remember when Hollywood was trying to do its own sort of spin-off of Chinese kung fu movies with cool action scenes, really good stunt work, and horrible acting? No, I'm not talking about that movie. Oh god, I'm not talking about that one either. Mind you, it did give us this. No, the film I'm going to talk to you about today is from 2001, The Musketeer, directed by Peter Hames. Peter Hames was a pretty recognizable director for his time. He directed such films as Outland, Time Cop, and most notably 2010, The Year We Made Contact. He also did some horror films like Relic and End of Days. A thing that Hames was really well known for was that not only did he direct movies, but he also did the cinematography for his own films. This isn't sort of a rare idea, but it is commendable when the director also knows how he wants to shoot his scenes. However, you don't really hear much about Hames nowadays. That's because he put 3 back-to-back nails in his coffin. The last one being Beyond a Reasonable Doubt, which followed A Sound of Thunder, which, God, we all remember that movie. But the one that started it all and started his descent was The Musketeer. Now, I know there's probably 8 million versions of The Musketeer. This is a classic tale of a man wanting to join the Musketeers and along the way save the king, defeat the man in black, and usurp the cardinal. However, there was one tiny change to it, and that was this. That was pretty cool, right? However, there was a lot of this.
I do not wish to fight a musketeer.
Oh, I'm certain you don't.
Now, I know this isn't the worst version of The Musketeer. God, there is that terrible Paul W.S. Anderson version. However, this film got absolutely scathing reviews when it came out. It only has an 11% on Rotten Tomatoes. So I wanted to set the record straight on whether or not this film actually is as bad as everyone says it is. So without further ado, let's get into The Musketeer. We begin the film with an introduction to D'Artagnan, being taught by his father in the art of swordplay and terrible ADR.
Musketeer would never do that.
A musketeer doesn't fight his duels after a morning of farm chores.
Now comes the true treat of the film, Mr. Tim Roth. I have a feeling when they started filming, Hames was like, you know what, Roth, be as evil as you want to be. And he took that and took it way further than anyone could have ever expected.
Not only a thief, but also a liar.
Before you can say holy origin story, Batman, his folks are killed off. Roth then, for some reason, lets the kid have a swing at him and he loses an eye. He then, for some reason, again, leaves the kid alive, who is discovered by Planchon, who likes to speak about himself in the third person.
I'm so sorry, little D'Artagnan. Blanchet will take care of you.
We jump 14 years into the future, and little D'Artagnan sure has grown up into an awful actor.
D'Artagnan, this place invites one for bad food and worse company.
Yeah, well, I just want breakfast.
He also somehow replaced his British accent with an American one. He meets up with some douchebags who are understandably getting pissed off by some kids scrounging for their food, and then this breaks out. Now this looks pretty cool, right? I remember watching this in the theater for the first time and being absolutely amazed by the stunt work and the ridiculousness of the scene. They're fighting on freaking barrels. How often do you ever think you would ever see that? We had just gotten Phantom Menace, so besides that film, this was the most interesting form of swordplay I've ever seen in a film. However, there is one issue, one very glaring issue with all the fight scenes actually that include D'Artagnan. Did you see it? Not yet? Alright. I'll give you a few more chances and then I'll tell you what it is. He wins the fight and they continue on. We cut over to Tim Roth cutting up a Spanish emissary. He leaves a musketeer tunic on the ground, which is a cause for the conflict that happens later on in the film. D'Artagnan arrives at Musketeer HQ to find that it's a few members short of a club.
You said there were always 50 or 60 men here waiting to be assigned. And no one could mark this fellow by the men outside begging to call themselves musketeers.
Things change.
Oh, thank you.
Here we meet...
I'm Porthos. This is Aramis. We too are musketeers.
They explain the musketeers have been suspended because of what happened earlier on, and that the head of the musketeers, Treville, is in prison. You'll also notice that this film had a big jump on the whole idea of British France far earlier than Assassin's Creed Unity did.
Now's not the best time to be a musketeer.
Or the child of a musketeer.
Before you know it, we are back with Tim Roth getting off on being evil and bragging about it.
I want political tension, not war. And the Spaniards were scared. You could see it in their faces just before they died.
Would you believe me if I said this was my first ever introduction to Tim Roth? I'm serious, I obviously was only 11 years old, so I hadn't seen films like Pulp Fiction yet. Every performance I have ever watched him in, it always comes back to this. And can you blame me with lines like this?
Make the king a fool in Buckingham's eyes.
What if I absolutely must kill someone?
Well, if you must, you must.
D'Artagnan rolls into a hospital, and we witness some of the most derogatory and blatant exposition I've ever seen in a film.
Francesca.
She's lovely.
But if you must live with her, she thinks she's something special because her mother dresses for the Queen. She sometimes forgets her place.
Then we have some wonderful acting from these two lovebirds.
Is he always like that?
No, he's never apologized.
Do you wish to see the room or not?
The room, yes. Yes, of course.
I would say a block of wood is a good comparison.
Are you all right, monsieur?
That stair moved at the last moment.
Stairs can do that.
Because these guys are bland as hell. If you haven't already guessed it, Chambers is awful in this movie. He is so unbelievably droll and emotionless. You don't care at all for his character or his ambitions because he's just so goddamn bland. The movie seems to know this as well, as they quickly rush to breaking Treville out of prison with the most powerful rum barrel you have ever seen.
Move, bitch, get out the way, bitch, get out the way.
He accidentally bumped into Aramis and Porthos and convinces them to help him break out Treville. Here we get another impressive fight scene, but that problem is still here. Do you see it yet? I'll give you one more try and then I'll reveal it. They break Treville out of prison and take him to a safe house, and then we get the classic line.
All for one, and one for all.
Then comes probably one of the worst parts of the movie script-wise.
The Cardinal has arranged it so that no one will be protecting the King, the Queen, and Buckingham at the banquet tomorrow night.
How does he know this? He just arrived in Paris, and he apparently knows more about what's going on than anyone in the town, even Treville. I point this out because this is literally out of left field. Nothing builds up to this. He has no prior knowledge to anything that's going on in Paris. Sure, he heard that the Musketeers weren't guarding the king anymore, but wouldn't the king have a new guard of his own in place? How does D'Artagnan even know that the Cardinal is evil? He hasn't met him or the Man in Black, nor does he know that the Man in Black is involved. So how could he know anything without literally holding the script in his hand and seeing that later on in the film he's going to help save the king? We get more bland dialogue between these two, and we find out that her creepy uncle actually knows the sewer system, in which D'Artagnan gets the idea to go and get the king.
You've got no right to... Of course.
You clean the palace sewers. That must be fascinating work.
I'm sure I can get you an apprenticeship.
Tell me all about the palace sewers. Where they go, how you get in, everything.
Go crawl around in them yourself.
This would have been funny if Chambers didn't have the personality of a wet rag. They take to the sewers and find their way into the palace. They get some disguises to get in, while evil Tim Roth is persuading the poor to come and cause some chaos. We meet up with the King, Queen, and Duke of Buckingham, and they escort them to the sewer. Alright, it's time that I told you what's been bugging me this whole time. All of these fight scenes are clearly not Chambers. Instead, we have these terrible editing cuts that keep on going back and forth to show Chambers' face and some movement, and it just ruins the flow of the fight scenes. Sometimes aren't as bad as others, but it gets really annoying. And it's pretty lame when your main actor barely knows how to do any sort of swordplay in a movie that's all about swordplay. They succeed in getting the royalty out. This causes the Cardinal to push his actions into motion, and he starts arresting the Musketeers on grounds of something. Queen is, however, tired of Louis' shit and decides to have D'Artagnan, Planchet, and the terrible love interest to escort her to meet the Duke of Buckingham. Alright, I've been ragging on the movie for quite a bit, but the next scene is pretty damn awesome. This is seriously some amazing stunt work. The death-defying leaps, the grappling on top of and on the side of the coach, the creativity of the choreography is something to marvel at, even if it isn't shot in the correct lighting sometimes. Sure, it seems like something out of Revenge of the Sith for the amount of unnecessary parries and strikes, but it really reminds me of the fantastic stunt work that was in The Mask of Zorro. Again, the editing does some damage on the overall product, especially when they blatantly unfocus the film because you could see the stuntman's face as clear as day. But this is an amazing sequence. It has a lot of references to The Mask of Zorro and Stagecoach and other films of its style. And then they go and ruin it. Oh no, we can't follow him over that clearly disappointing flame and fire. Better give up, boys. They make it to the Queen's place, and we get a rudimentary romantic scene. But something's missing. What could it be? Oh, how about Tim Roth crashing the party and being evil again? They kidnap the girl and seemingly kill D'Artagnan. We find Roth coercing the Queen into writing a letter to the Duke of Buckingham to incite war between France and England. She refuses, which gives Roth another opportunity to just be an asshole.
You have no children.
No.
But you like children. Of course you do. Everybody likes children. Except for me. Oh, do you like them enough to save her life?
Of course, D'Artagnan isn't dead and defeats Roth's men who are waiting for him by the river. Roth seems to take the news pretty well until... D'Artagnan arrives after everyone has left and gets some info from the little girl. We find that Treville's coming out of hiding worked as well as everyone expected, as Roth turns up to deliver the everything is better when you're evil sermon. Old man seems to take it pretty well for someone witnessing the destruction of his home, while he's inside his home.
Oh my God, it's you. You killed his family.
Gasp! I mean, how are we to know that? He could have been covering up a scar. Sacre bleu! He caps the old man and proceeds to just go more crazy. This guy thinks he can stop him, and it ends exactly how you think it does. D'Artagnan arrives to find Treville's place up in flames, and Aramis is pretty pissed at him.
Do not turn your back on me, D'Artagnan, for I will bite you!
Do not fight me, Aramis, for I will kill you.
Wow, Chambers. Not even an ounce of effort in that, man. Holy crap, dude, you are dull. No wonder you've never been able to escape holding dead babies in Grey's Anatomy. You need the circumstances of the scene to enact the emotions in the audience that you can't even bring yourself to do. Cardinal meets up with D'Artagnan and admits, my bad.
I will kill your monster, but not for you.
Sure, whatever, bro. Thanks, but no thanks for cleaning up my mess. D'Artagnan rides to the castle where Roth is held up, and conveniently, the Musketeer crew shows up as well. They charge the castle, and the Musketeers become the musket magnets. How did no one hit this wagon on the charge in? Surprise, bitch! They get inside and try to find the Queen.
Where's the Queen? I don't know! Then die here!
The girls come up with this idea to throw a statue head out the window to let D'Artagnan know where they are. Well, that's really freaking convenient, how he was right there when that landed. He then gets this grapple gun out of nowhere and uses it to climb the tower. But it seems the bad guys were prepared for something just as ridiculous as they come down to fight him. Again, this fight scene is cool, but it really reminds me of how unnecessary the fight scene was between Obi-Wan and Anakin when they're on the support beam and they're flaying at each other. I don't know. It's cool, but whatever. Oh no, the love interest we don't care about got shot.
I'm not dead. Now will you please go kill him?
I guess that's a cool line and all, but you got shot. So begins the fight scene you've been waiting for. And as you can guess, it's ridiculously awesome. This scene is impressive. They showed this over and over and over again in the advertisements, and rightly so, because it's pretty damn cool. It's ridiculously over the top with parts like this. But you can't deny that it's awesome. Sure, the horrible editing comes in every now and then, but I think the director had to admit, just keep it on the stunt, guys. Is any of this really necessary? No. They probably could have killed each other hours ago, but who cares? It's so damn cool. And just like that, the deadliest, most over-the-top battle of snakes and ladders is over. The Musketeers are thanked for their bravery, D'Artagnan and his lifeless girlfriend go off on their merry way, and thus ends the Musketeer. So now in the end, is this a bad movie? Well, in terms of acting, certainly, and as story-wise. It's odd that there's so many holes in this story, despite the fact that this is, the 100th time that this story has been redone. But is it a 4.7 on IMDb or an 11% on Rotten Tomatoes? I don't think so. It's an entertaining film. It has great action scenes. The editing is choppy as shit, though. The acting is awful. But it's not as bad as certain action films we get nowadays. The film keeps you entertained with awesome action scenes, and of course Tim Roth. But we have a lead that's terribly dull and we don't care about anything that happens with him. However, there is one thing that is certain: this film was a disaster for everyone involved. Haim's career slowly went down the toilet, Chambers never got into any big movies again, even Tim Roth had to take a bit of a hiatus with taking shitty movies until 2008 when he got to do Funny Games and, oddly enough, The Incredible Hulk, where he got to be super duper evil again. The Musketeer is a special disaster to me. It's an enjoyable one, but you can't help but feel that you're getting slowly, painfully stabbed as you're watching it. But I still enjoy this movie for what it is, and I'm going to say it's a favorable master of disaster. Anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode. We hope to do more of them in the future. In the end, that's all from me. See you guys later.
Yeah, see ya.